Okay, so in this Q&A, the racing blogger has asked a question about trainer form. Let's set the record straight. Okay, so a fairly reasonable question from the racing blogger there. Bit of an entertaining character on Twitter if you've seen him in the racing industry. And I thought I'd answer it because it's just a typical outlook of people within racing, and I think it's wrong. Probably more so you'll see from that first reply to his tweet there from someone else. I see comments like this every day, and it's quite frustrating to see, really. It's a shame in a lot of ways. I blame the racing media for it because it's just part of their complete bullshit story that they feed to everyone and all the viewers. So, the trainer's form, is following the trainer's form that important? I'd say it's probably got about as much relevance as looking at a horse's bloodline or breeding, or even just the form book in general, or maybe the horse's knee action when it went round the bend at Lingfield or something. I mean, seriously, it's about as much use as tits on fish. We're in 2017. It's ridiculous. They're all the things they do tell you about in the media, which I think is just completely skewed and very unfair for people that haven't got the backing knowledge that they need, that they're actually searching for. The things they don't tell you about is the fact that some trainers are as bent as 9 bob note. Yeah, that's what's actually worth looking at. Is a trainer when it's laid a horse up to have a revised handicap mark before bringing it out in the next season and then heavily betting it in the market. That's actually far more of a tell sign than if a horse's knee was bending going around the corner, or the trainer's currently in form with other horses at other tracks last week. I mean, I don't deny there's probably a trend in behaviour if a trainer's been performing well, but I mean, seriously, you're going to put your hard-earned cash down on a horse on the fact that a trainer did well with Dobbin in the 320 last week. It's just completely ridiculous. Trainer form, the only trends and form to be following with trainers is to see who's more ethical and who isn't within markets and kind of the way they're working the system. So the actual form, no. Just like the form book itself is ridiculous. It's like archaic. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. I mean, at the end of the day, racing is about betting. Yeah, and I know some people would disagree with this, which is absolutely fair. It's their prerogative. But racing is about betting. If it wasn't for betting, there wouldn't be racing. It's not like football, where people go and watch a match because they enjoy watching the match, and they're actual genuine fans and they like to follow their players. People aren't following horses, they're betting on them. It's ridiculous. Racing is about betting, so racing is about price. That's the only thing that actually matters in betting and in racing, is the price at which horses are priced. If there's actually any value in that, to be betting on it. The one thing that you very rarely hear them talk about on the TV channels, and when they do, they always sew it in with a bookmaker's price, which is far shorter than an exchange price. Funny that, isn't it? So I find it highly frustrating, really. No, trainer form, in terms of actual form, no, ridiculous, not worth following at all. In 2017, I just think it's absolutely wildly ridiculous that people are still looking at things like that, reading form books and going sticks and horses' knee action when running. It just seems completely ridiculous. It's a bit like if you was to run a parallel. If you was going to buy a house and you walked around that house and you looked at it and you're like, yeah, this is a nice house. I can see my family and me living in this house. I think it's quite reasonable. And you got to the end of the viewing and you said to the estate agent, how much is the house? And he just ignored you or sent you off somewhere else. He didn't want to talk about price. And he was like, oh yeah, but there's a nice hinge on this door. It opens well, look. Or starts talking about the bloodline of the builder. This house was built by Dave. His Uncle John was really good at laying bricks years ago. Just bullshit. It's completely ridiculous. Price is all that matters, and that's what the racing media should be talking about most of the time when covering the channels, and all the important things that actually affect you, the viewer, the punter, the restrictions that the bookmakers impose are quite wildly ridiculous. The fact that they offer bad prices and you can get better prices on exchange. Now, it's obvious, we all know why they do what they do, because obviously they're getting their pockets lined and their palms greased by bookmakers. But in 2017, I just think it's ridiculous that people look at things like trainer form, or how a trainer did with a different horse last week at a different track. It's just absolutely wild. You know, if you take it back to something with an actual real fan base like football and compare the two, you don't hear people talking about, yeah, what was like the muscular structure of Wayne Rooney's mum.